Welcome back. Now, we're talking divorce, as this is the month when solicitors see a rise in people asking about them. So if you're working out if that's the next step for you, then Ayesha Nayyar is here to help, because this is a genuine thing, isn't it? It's not just one of those marketing spins. This time of year, you're getting more calls. What are the reasons?
Well, Christmas seems a long time away, but what we're seeing now is the backdrop of what happened over the Christmas period. Spending the festive period together when your marriage is crumbling is very, very difficult. There's no work escape, there's nowhere to go. You're stuck together in a relationship that you don't want to be in. Throw in the wrong Christmas present. No, seriously, throw in financial problems, throw in the children driving you nuts. And it has caused, and it always causes in January, a lot of marriages to crumble. The reality is, Steph, these are marriages that were failing anyway.
Yeah.
But the problems are brought to the forefront because you're forced to spend a lot of time together. You've been brave enough, but now you've had enough. You want to draw a line under it.
Yeah. So what things do you need to consider then when you're thinking about filing for divorce?
Well, the first thing I think you need to consider is it really over, or are you just consulting a solicitor on the back of a few bad arguments? And I always say that when clients ring me for the first time and I listen to what they've got to say, my first question is, it's a massive step. Do you want to get a divorce? And if it's not, then go away, maybe try a reconciliation or try some counselling. There's lots of good services out there. But if it isn't, if you really are at the end of the road, then there are lots of things you can do from a legal perspective to find out. First of all, I always say, and you know I say this on the programme all the time, don't I?
Communicate.
You know what I'm about to say. The communication is absolutely key. Sit and talk about your problems with your other half. And I know, it's easy for me to say as a lawyer, but it's so important to do. Try and iron out as much as you can between yourselves. So if you can agree on, for example, your finances, what's going to happen with your children, and you've come to that agreement, you can then go to a lawyer and find out what your rights are and if what you want to do fits in with what your legal rights are. Now, remember, the divorce process in England and Wales is sadly, and it frustrates lawyers, it's still fault-based. So there is some mudslinging that has to go on, unfortunately. And fingers crossed the law will change at some point in relation to that. But right now, unfortunately, in the divorce petition, you've got to state grounds for fault. So you might want to sit down with your spouse and discuss, well, who's going to start the petition? Who's going to start off the divorce? And what are we going to put in it? So then it's not a flashpoint when it lands on your doorstep. So try and discuss as much as you can. Another tip I always give clients is know your marriage, know the assets in it. The number of clients I have who sit down for me, and the first time I say to them, right, so what have you got between you? I don't actually know what she earns. I'm not sure what bank account you got. Have you got pensions? I don't know. Do that research before you go and see a lawyer. Know what the assets are in your marriage. And then be practical and try not to be greedy. Again, it's easier said than done, but be fair in the relationship. If you want to stay in the house with your children and you want your spouse to leave, where is he or she going to go? Yeah. And how are they going to continue paying your mortgage and be able to support themselves? So it may have been bad all the way up to right now, but going forward, try and be practical and positive as you break down that marriage.
Yeah. So what are your rights then if someone, your partner, does file for divorce?
Well, there are three parts to most divorce processes. First of all, there's the dissolution of the marriage. It's getting what's called the decree absolute. Now, that's a relatively straightforward process. You can do it online or you can use the services of a solicitor. It's cost-effective to do that as well. The second part is splitting up your financial assets, and this is where it gets complicated and all the arguments start. But the starting point is there's a 50-50 split of marital assets, regardless of who owns what. You put everything into the pot, your starting point is it's split. Now, that's the general rule that can be deviated from. Thirdly, you've got your children, if there are children in a marriage. And it's always sensible to try and agree contact for the absent parent with the children between yourselves. The family court wants to be a last resort, so try and agree as much as you can. Remember, and I always say this to clients when they come and see me for the first time, it's in every child's best interest to have a healthy relationship with both parents. So he or she may be a terrible spouse, but that doesn't mean that your child doesn't deserve to see them.
And out of all the inquiries you get, how many people actually follow through with it once you've started telling them all this?
That's a really good question. And I know in that first phone call how many people are actually going to go and pull the trigger.
Can you tell straight away?
I can tell. Normally it's had an argument with, him or her last night. And that probably isn't enough. And what I normally say at that first point is, and I would say 50% probably transpire to be actual divorces. I would say 50% are just inquiries where people want to know what their rights are. And you know what? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Because, and I'm talking myself out of a job here as a lawyer, but there's nothing wrong with that because divorce is a big step.
Yeah.
So you need to really take it seriously if that's what you want to do. The divorce process, I think it's really important to also say is once it's started, it can actually be halted at any time with the consent of the other party, or you can get the permission of the court as well. So just because you've started it, if you want to reconcile at any point, that's absolutely fine. You can do that.
And so just in conclusion then, what are the things you need to consider if you're thinking about a divorce?
OK, so clear head. Forget what's happened in the past, ditch all of those arguments. We're going to move forward as positively as we can. So first of all, I'd probably say seek legal advice. Try and know what your rights are. A lot of the arguments go out the window when you know what your legal rights are. So find out what they are. Know what you want out of your marriage. Know what's important to you. There's no point just arguing over things that really, when you look at the bigger picture, aren't that important. So choose your battles quite carefully. Agree as much as you can in respect of your children. Really, really important that you do that. If you can't sit down and talk, and I know it's easy, we say this on the programme a lot, don't we, communicate, but if you can't communicate for whatever reason, relationship's just completely broken down, sit down and write, email, letter, get a third party involved. Really good mediation services involved. But the more you can agree amongst yourselves about the divorce itself, your finances and the children, you will save yourself a lot of heartache and stress, and not to mention legal fees in the long run.
Yeah. Or just don't get married in the first place.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ayesha.
Thank you so
Lovely
much.
to see you. Right, I'm going to head over to the kitchen now, because